Hello, we're here at the Candidates Forum for the City Council of Buckhannon, and now we'll introduce the two candidates. We have Laura Folks and David Mccauley. We're going to be answering 4 questions each, and we'll get started. First question is for Laura Folks. The city has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the Stalker Youth Center Gym campaign. Do you support that project? And where would you say the youth center fits amongst the city's list of priorities?
Yes, I do support the project, and I think it's very important. A lot of our town's children go there, and that is all. I support it.
Thank you very much. Next up is Dave Mccauley. On core issues such as utility services and emergency service particularly, how would you change the relationship between the city and the county?
Boy, that's a good one. And it was a hot button topic during my 50 months as mayor. The county needs to step up. We have only the second police agency in the entire state of West Virginia that is now fully accredited, Parkersburg being the other city. Our fire department is one of the best staffed and equipped fire departments in the entire state. But when we get to the outlying districts, there are some real struggles with the all-volunteer format. And I'm pleased to be reading recently about the realignment on the map for fire response and the whole bit. But all communities should be pressing to be equipped and staffed like the city of Buckhannon's fire and police departments are. Mr. Huffman's already given me the 10-second sign. City utilities are huge. I chaired 4 utility boards during that 50 months, and now my time is up. Jeez, can't we have more time since there's only 2 of us?
Thank you for your answer. Next question is for Laura Folks again. If elected, what unique qualities do you feel you would bring to City Council?
If I'm elected, I plan to reach out to the community. I want to hear everyone's ideas, and that's my main thing, is just getting in touch with the community. You know, going out door to door and talking to them and finding out exactly what their needs are and their wants and who they are, and I want them to have a voice, and that's about it.
Thank you. Next one is for Dave Mccauley. Compared to many other regional cities, Buckhannon's downtown remains vibrant. What factors do you think have contributed to that?
Not the least of which is our inclusivity. One of the first things I did during my time as mayor, and which I would hopefully bring back as a council member, would be the expanded sidewalk and street safe protections that we realized. Buckhannon became the first 100% compliant Americans with Disability Act downtown in all of West Virginia. That didn't just fall into our lap. I had been nagging with the DOH regional engineers about meeting up with us to see how we could improve handicap accessibility to storefronts and curbs and things like that downtown. And about 3 or 4 years ago, that came to pass. There were 168 intersection points in the downtown and in the outlying area around downtown that made us very capable of taking care of the elderly and people that were in the roustabouts, the scooters, those kinds of things. So that's a pretty big deal. Boy, that Huffman, he's tough on the time, I mean to tell you.
We're back to Laura Folks. Name one positive aspect about Buckhannon and one thing that the city can do better.
Well, Buckhannon is a great town. We have a great community. Everyone works together. Everybody helps each other. And so I think that's a really positive aspect. I think we maybe with our businesses, like some of the businesses that we have closed down. I think maybe we could find ways to help keep or have more new businesses open. Maybe it's hard to think. We could start like a mentor program where other businesses help the new businesses. I think that would be a great idea.
Thank you. Back to Dave Mccauley. What ideas have you seen in other towns that you would like to see implemented in Buckhannon?
Well, during the time that I was mayor, I hate to keep hearkening back to that, but I was. And prior to that, I was 33 years as the city attorney and traveled a lot to municipal leagues and municipal league meetings and things like that. And I saw firsthand what everybody from Bluefield to Weirton were doing. And I think we incorporated a lot of that during my time with the city. We can always support more art. We can always support more athletic and recreation opportunities, especially for our kids. And as we evolve with the Stockert Youth Center building, that I helped raise $500,000 to get started, by the way, I think that we need to make that a multi-purpose facility that serves all the people. Why not have a catwalk area where people older like myself could go down on a snowy or rainy night and get their steps in while they walk around watching kids play whatever it is on the courts? That Huffman guy says time's up again.
Thank you. Last question for Laura Folk. Attracting and retaining young professionals is often cited as a challenge to our area. What can the city do to make Buckhannon more appealing for young adults?
I think that a lot of the young adults are leaving Buckhannon because of some of the discrimination issues that we have here. So I feel that if we would tackle some of those issues, maybe we would, be more pleasant for young adults.
Thank you. Last one for Dave Mccauley. A recent point in time count found dozens of homeless people in the area. As a city council member, what would you do about the homeless situation in our town?
Well, I served on the Parish House Homeless Task Force with people like Mrs. Rapking and Matt Kerner and others when we first started to try to identify the problem. You need to get a community buy-in as to the problem and the extent of it first and foremost. So oftentimes, people who don't have a place to live aren't necessarily people living in a cardboard box under a bridge someplace. They might be living out of their cars. They might be going from friend to friend's home a couple of nights at a time. Identification of the problem, those folks that need a place to stay of permanency, is the first step. And then you just get a buy-in. You establish a place that will build upon what the Parish House already provides and go from there. That Huffman guy, he's so quick to put his hand up.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
So next we'll move into the lightning round. One question for both of you. Let's say the city received an open-ended $1 million grant. What would you use it for? Laura first.
I would find out from the city what they want and what they need, and I would probably try to allocate those funds to different programs. I don't think I would just throw it all into one thing. I really would like to help, the homeless population, and I'm not really sure what else.
Thank you. Same question.
Just $1 million, huh?
Just $1 million.
Well, we need another couple of $100,000 to finish the Colonial Center for the Arts. We need about another $2 million to finish the Stockert Youth Center project, so I'm going to need more than just that. But if we were to do just one thing, I think I would apply it to the new Stockert building and then hopefully go to USDA and get some of that 3% money that's still hanging out there and get us to that 2.7 million that we need to build a first-class building and do it. The least amount that we can have to borrow is better. We don't want to mortgage our future and have the kids that are going to be benefiting from those Stockard programs having to pay for them into their time as being parents and grandparents. So I think I would apply it to Stockard first and foremost, but the Colonial is a close second.
Thank you. So at the end, we're going to give you 1 minute to conclude communicate the value that they hope to add to your new role. So this time we'll start with David.
Can you repeat the question?
1 minute to communicate the value that you hope to add to your new role of City Council.
Well, I'm a decisive guy. I was decisive for the 33 years I was the city attorney, and I was decisive for the 4+ years I was mayor. I'm not an abstainer. I'm not a kick the can down the road guy. I'm wanting to get things done very quickly and soon, because at 64 years old, I don't know how much longer I've got to go, and I want to make an impact while we still have time to do it all. I see myself as a positive change maker. And by that, I'm meaning that we will make things happen. There is a good core of council people. C.J. Rylands, who has led the charge with so many things with Create Buckhannon. Randy Sanders, who's been a fantastic city recorder. We need more folks like that who are going to buy into the development of our community.
Thank you. Laura?
I hope to just bring the community together. I really want to stress how I think the community needs to be heard, and I hope that I can help be a voice for everyone. I don't know, that's about it.
Thank you. And we'd like to thank you guys for coming out. And closing statements.
Closing statement. You go first or I go first? Ladies before gentlemen?
Okay. So I wrote something up here. I graduated from Buckhannon Upshur High School, and I went on to Fairmont State. I got my education degree, and I've spent most of my life teaching and caring for young children. I ran a West Virginia registered child care home here in Buckhannon for nearly 10 years. That was shut down due to COVID, and so after that, I started trying to get more involved with the community and the town, and I started meeting all kinds of people, city council members, and the mayor, and just everybody, and I started volunteering for all sorts of things around town with the at the Colonial Theater and with the free meals program, and so if I'm elected, I just want to represent everyone and bring unity and equality to our town. I think it's definitely needed, and my time is up.
Thank you.
Same question, huh?
Same question.
Well, Laura's doing a fantastic job. This is her first rodeo, and I think she's done a terrific job. It's too bad the other candidates couldn't be here and participate, but that's another story for another day. Buckhannon is such a great place. I came here, it was just about exactly 39 years ago today that I interviewed with a law firm downtown, Coleman and Wallace, and they took me to lunch. It was the second interview. I had the first interview at the law school the week before, and they offered me a job. But before they offered me the job, this old guy comes in who I was introduced to as Mr. Hinkle. It was J.D. Hinkle Jr., and he said, "You'd be crazy to go any other place except here to Buckhannon." And he and Bob Wallace sold this place to me on that very day, and it just continues to resonate. Every day when I get up and I go to teach class at the college or whatever I do, Buckhannon is a great place. We just, like she said, we need to get people to work together more, and there's nothing that we can't accomplish. That doggone Huffman just keeps telling me I'm out of time.
Thank you.
You did a good job.
Welcome to the Candidates Forum for the Buckhannon Upshur Board of Education. We'll start by announcing the candidates from right to left. We have Jan Craig, Roy Wager, Dave Chips, Brandon Wiese, Tom O'Neill, Derek Agan, Sherry Dean, and Robert Osborne. First question is for Jan Craig. How can virtual learning be a continued positive aspect of our school system?
Virtual learning has so many avenues where we can use it effectively. Oh, sorry. Virtual learning has so many avenues where we can use it effectively. I don't personally like 100% virtual learning because I think kids need the socialization of being in the school system, being with their friends, being with their peers, learning to live in today's world. But every piece of that virtual learning adds to what we don't have in Upshur County to show them. We don't have a Smithsonian here. We don't have some of those things that lets them take virtual tours of the Smithsonian. Kids that may have never left Buckhannon, West Virginia, get to see the world through virtual learning.
Thank you. Next for Roy Wager. What ideas can you offer to boost employee morale and maximize our educators' professional capabilities?
Okay, I believe, and I know there is a morale problem in the county right now. I think because of the pandemic and what I call the lost year of education of our students, that we're going to have to support them in any way that we can, not only as board members, but as administrators, as parents. We need to come in and help our teachers to see that it's getting better, and we're hoping that it's going to get better. But we still have a long way to go. And I think that as long as there is support out there, not only, especially from the community, that it will get better, but I think as board members, we need to go to the schools, we need to be in the schools, see what's going on in the schools, so that we can add our support to the schools.
Thank you. Dave Chips, how do you feel about education funding being available to parents who want to provide home or private schooling for their children?
I'm not totally against it. I can understand there's cases why people would want to send their kids to a private school, being religious, being not. But I hate to see funding taken away from public schools as well. Just kind of settle in the middle of the fence on this one. I really have mixed feelings on this. There's a part of me that says I understand why parents would want to be able to take those state funds and use it in a private school, be it Montessori, be it something else, especially, for example, if you have a higher achieving student that needs to move on faster or something like that. Or an underachieving student who needs some special help that maybe a private school and smaller classes can give them. Just to say you want your kid to go to a private school and take it away, I think there needs to be reasons, and I think there needs to be guidelines of how we give that money out, not necessarily just say, well, I'm flunking math, so I'm going to go to a private school and take my money with you.
Thank you. Brandon Wiese. What role do you feel the arts, band, music, art, etc., play in the education of Upshur County students?
Anything extracurricular, whether it be band or art or whatever, is going to continue education in ways that certain children need a release, if you would, drawing or music or whatever that might be. It's important to have a good art structure. Band used to be a huge thing in Buckhannon. I wish it was a little bigger now. So hopefully we can find some solutions to get all of those projects more or bigger.
Thank you. Tom O'Neill, what particular issue sparked your interest in running for the Upshur County Board of Education?
Well, thanks for the question. I'm the parent of 6 Upshur County students, 5 of my own and 1 foreign exchange student who's gone home. So frankly, seeing the lost year, as it has been described, is probably what got me interested the most. I think what you saw with the bond election back in January is can't be interpreted, to me at least, as anything less than a referendum on kind of the state of affairs. And I think the The results of that election demonstrate that there's a lot of rebuilding of trust that needs to happen between the community and the school system, and I want to be part of that.
Thank you. Derek Agan. What do you see as the role of technology in education, and how can that be improved in Upshur County?
Thank you. So as far as technology goes, I believe it's a support piece primarily. Our county is very rural overall. Internet's not available all throughout the county. Should not be a primary source of what we're doing, especially homework-wise. Not only that, it shouldn't be a primary source for what we're doing on the classrooms. That's what the instructors are there for. They're there to provide the education, to steer them on the right path. So I see it as a supplemental piece, and that's what it needs to be utilized as. And I think that's how it can best support our students and our staff in all that we do.
Thank you. Sherry Dean.
Yes, sir.
What are your ideas to recruit and retain local folks for jobs like bus driver, operators, where the private sector competition is so high?
That is a difficult thing to do, as we are seeing right now. We are trying to recruit bus operators, secretaries, cooks, teachers, janitors to come into our fold. Personally, I love working for the school system. I drove a bus for 37 years and taught school. So I loved it, but not everybody does. And we just need to get the word out, and hopefully that our workforce will come back to us. And we need to make it financially feasible for them. To drive a bus is not the easiest thing in the world to do. You have to control that 70 students that's behind you. So my time's up.
Thank you. Robert Osborne, what are your plans to correct the shortage of qualified teachers that are still needed in various classrooms?
Well, first thing we got to do is find out why teachers and employees are leaving the county. We lose so many teachers now that we have to other surrounding counties. We need to figure out what's going on and why that is a problem and why they're leaving. And, you know, to get good qualified teachers and to keep them in our county, you know, a big thing is communication. A lot of teachers, you know, don't hear from the board office, or they don't hear from even some of their principals on some of the things that happen even in the own school system. So I think better communication is one thing that can help keep teachers in place.
Thank you. Jan Craig. Why do you think it's becoming harder to fill teaching jobs? What would you do to change this trend?
Teaching is a hard job. And right now I know Wesleyan has a very few students in their upcoming teaching program. We have to make the teachers know they are appreciated. We have to have support for them. We have to have open and honest communication with them, treat them in ethical manners. And we need to make this the respected position it was at one point in time. Being a teacher was one of the highest respected positions in a community years ago. To be a teacher that was the end all. And now teachers are not treated that way across the board, unfortunately. I subbed for 4 years and I taught for 32 years, and I wouldn't trade 1 minute of any of it. But we have to get those values to our new teachers and our upcoming people.
Roy Wager, do you feel the curriculum being taught to our children is transparent, and how could that be improved?
I think for the most part it is very transparent. We do have committees whenever we're adopting new books, new textbooks, new curriculum in the county. And on those committees, it's not just teachers, but parents. I think at times we've had students involved in that. And we're getting a lot of guidance from the State Department of Education. So I think as long as there is that good communication and that group that comes together to work on the curriculum. I think it is very good. I think there's a lot of transparency in our county. Parents can see the textbooks. Now that we're going to a lot of it on computerized, they can see it at home also on the computers.
Thank you. Dave Chip, do you feel career and technical courses should be offered earlier in school career, such as middle school or elementary school? What classes do you feel would benefit the students at an earlier age?
I definitely feel technical classes should be. Let's face it, not everybody is going to go to college. Not everybody needs. We have a dire need in our communities for plumbers, electricians, carpenters, other skilled positions that don't necessarily require a college degree. And they really don't want to go to college, or at least they think they don't want to go to college. That changes. But we also have kids that know they pretty much do want to go to college. We need to provide them with the access to more technical things, more shop classes, more maybe electrician classes, more detailed classes, not just making a birdhouse, not just making a book cover or something out of paper mache or something. We need to do real technical learning and have the skills and time to do it.
Thank you. Brandon Wiese, how would you deal with the middle school facility to rehabilitate it for continued use, since the bond to replace it was defeated? Where would the funding come from, and where do you propose it should come from?
That's a great question. I believe there is a need for a new middle school. I do also believe that there needs to be more options than maybe a Cadillac option. We need to look at other resources. Some ideas that I've had is local businesses, maybe they give us some form of donation and we name a hallway after them, or a gymnasium, something to that extent. I definitely think there is a need. We can keep putting money into it, but it's kind of like the old car salesman. How much money do you keep dumping into something that just needs replaced? And our kids do deserve the best that we can provide them. And right now, I truly think that we need to come up with a plan to provide a new school for those children.
Thank you. Tom O'Neill, the recent bond also included expanded vocational education programs. Is there a way to implement those in our current facilities, and how might that happen?
I think there's an absolute need for increased vocational education. I work with an organization called the West Virginia Aerospace Alliance. It's part of my day job. In that industry in particular, just as an illustration, over the next 10 years, a third of the global workforce has to be switched out due to retirements. These are the kind of jobs that they have with the large aviation maintenance facilities in Harrison County that pay significant wages with benefits right off the bat. And I think we can do a lot to get kids prepared for careers of the future like that. Now, where in our current facilities, I'm not prepared to answer that question today. But it's certainly the board's responsibility to harness that opportunity and put our kids in the best position to have a great life where they can do it here.
Thank you.
Time's up.
Derek Egan, what are your thoughts on incentives for teachers and service personnel regarding bonuses for not missing work?
Well, I'm just going to be honest with you. I think, first off, I need to take a look at what finances are overall to see if there's room for that. If there's been any kind of pre-planning from the current administration that's in there, there should be some room in there for that, but that's solely dependent on where those finances are. Those kinds of funds like that, a lot of times people will get themselves in trouble by issuing raises that are consistent year over year. So an incentive program is a better option, and I will agree with that. But to answer you as to what would be put in place, there's a lot of things right now that have been obvious that need taken a look at before we can look at that route. But first and foremost, ensuring that they are being kept is the primary job. And I believe the ones that are here know what they're making, and we'll work towards what we can get them if there's more to be had.
Thank you. Sherry Dean, how can we bring greater and positive involvement of our citizens into the overall education process?
That's very important. You're not going to have a good school system if you don't have your community. And we need to get our community involved. The community needs to come to the board meetings. They need to speak. I am guilty. When the bond levy went up, I did not go to the Board of Education and speak for it or against it. And that's what this is for. We need to be more involved in our educational system. If the community is more involved, the parents are more involved, your students are more involved, and they're going to do a whole lot better. And they're going to be ready for their future. They're going to be focused on what's coming at them in the future. They're going to be well-rounded individuals when they go out into this world. So it's up to the community to come in, and we should welcome them with open arms and try our best to get them in.
Thank you. Robert Osborne, what do you consider to be the most important responsibility of the school board?
I think the most important responsibility of the school board is to make sure our students are safe, make sure our students have a very inviting school environment, a very inclusive school environment. I believe a student should be able to go to school and feel safe and not feel that they're going to get bullied or made fun of for the way they look or the way they act. And I think that's something that the Board of Education should really take responsibility for and look at the policies and make sure those policies are enforced. And the overall safety of the students, I think, is the primary goal of the Board of Education. There's lots of ways about that, better communication, a lot of policy review, I think, needs to be done. But I think primarily the students need a safe environment that they can actually want to go to school, and when they get to school, they'll want to learn and not have to worry about being bullied or made fun of.
Thank you. These next questions will be for each candidate, and we'll go in the same order. Do you support year-round schooling?
I have mixed feelings on year-round schooling. I see pros and cons both ways. I know students lose a lot over the summer. Some students do. Some students are very involved over the summer and have things like band camp, 4-H camp, in which they have that enrichment. Others don't. I personally think that Upshur County would have a hard time at the high school level with year-round schooling, that our numbers would decrease. We would have dropouts because of it initially. I think that might change with time, but it's an area that could be explored, especially for the younger students. However, we have so many good programs through the summer that are keeping those skills alive that might not be there if we went to year-round schooling. I also worry about parental care if we have the 3-month and then a break and 3 months and a break.
Same question.
Okay, and with some of what Jan said, I would have to agree. I've seen a lot of different models for all year-round school being like 9 weeks, then 3 weeks off, 9 weeks, 3 weeks off. I'm not sure how that would work with the parents. There are a lot of students that could benefit from the extra or the year-round school. As Jan said, with the kids that lose a lot of what they've learned during the year. But as Jan said, and I'm going to agree with Jan, probably with everybody else here, that it would be a tough one to do. And it's been tried, even in West Virginia. There are a few counties where they have a school that does year-round. And I would love to see the results as far as testing and as far as costs also. Keeping your building open year-round also would have cost effects.
I can see summer school, well, I'll call it summer school, as a year-round school as a possibility, but if we had it, I would like to see it run differently, not just regular school. Expanding on the question you asked me about vocational training and even what Tom said about aerospace industry, why don't we take some of the high school kids and maybe do internships? work out deals with corporations, companies, explore job opportunities during that time. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but we could modify it to fit the needs maybe of our community. Let's get some technical training for the jobs that are in our community, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's aerospace, whether it's the skilled jobs like it's plumbing, electricians, carpenters, things like that. College-bound students can look at possibility of investments, jobs, businesses, medical fields. Got enough medical facilities we could do internships in those, so that's a possibility.
I agree with all three. However, right now, what we have going on in Upshur County with the summer program that was designed to bridge the gap in education lost during COVID, giving the options for elementary school, all kids, to do a summer program has been fantastic. Two of my children participate in that at Tennerton Elementary, and they have done a fantastic job doing things like Dave was talking about, and getting these kids to places that these kids haven't even been out of the county. And the current summer program and how it is are reaching the children who want to be there and also who need to be there. So I think it's a mixed bag, but yeah, I think what we're doing right now is working really well.
Well, I'll join the chorus too. If the question is, do I support mandatory year-round school for all students? No, I don't, at least not until its efficacy can be demonstrated. But I would point to the Summer Academy program that Brandon mentioned a moment ago as something that's been a really good addition to the educational options for families. The summer, kids' summer experiences are varied, and it's the job of the board to educate well-rounded students. And I think the dignity of learning the dignity of work and other summer opportunities that are out there is an important part of being that well-rounded graduate. So I'd join my colleagues here.
So with year-round schooling, that is something to take a look at, because one of the big concerns that we have is our buses, most of the fleet, as I understand it, are not equipped with air conditioning units. So we get into the hotter summer months, that presents a challenge for students that are on there for an hour or longer. So I think there's opportunity in it, but then you're increasing transportation costs potentially, unless we're keeping with the 180 days that's required. If we're keeping with those amount of days, then the cost should be essentially the same in that department. But if not, then that's going to increase. And it would be good to know if currently the air conditioning systems are kept on throughout the summer months, even though staff and students aren't there, because that can potentially create extra expenses as well.
I'm not really for, to be honest about it, year-round schooling. I do like the system the way it's being run right now. The academies that's going on, the support that the children who need the support, who need to be out there. Like you said, some kids don't even get out of this county, but we are taking them out. The air-conditioned bus, I can speak on that. Yes, several of our buses are air-conditioned, and our buses run all summer long. They're running all summer long. For the academies, for extracurricular, for curricular, they're on the move. So whenever you see a bus out there and think, where in the world? It's the middle of July. Well, somebody has a trip somewhere, to Charleston, to Pittsburgh, somewhere. We're transporting our children. But we also need family time. We need time for families to be together and to bond. So that's my opinion on that.
I was always an advocate for year-round school until I talked to a lot of teachers. And almost every teacher I've talked to has told me that if you have that 3-week break, it's going to be 3 or 4 days before you get the kids back in school mode and get them learning again. And that's a really, really tough challenge and hard to lose those days. I would be more open to some sort of a 4-day school week with a day, maybe Wednesday off, to give them a little break, but not for year-round schooling. I do agree with Dave Chips. We need to work with companies to get internships for our students maybe in the summer, because that's very important, because they don't have the opportunities here that they can in other counties. I think working with other businesses for internships is something we need to look at. And like I said, the summer programs are going great. I'd also like to see possibly some sort of a tutoring system in the summer for the kids that may be struggling that they can go to for a little bit more personal attention. And, maybe get out, go do science, outside somewhere, that type of thing.
Thank you. A more serious question. What was your favorite subject in school?
I like that question. I don't know that I had a favorite subject in school. My first grade teacher, Miss Lang, made everyone sit with your knees together and a smile on every day. And every class, you had a smile. So that made me learn that every class was fun. I loved music. I was in the band. I loved science. I loved the hands-on things. I'm not sure that there is one favorite. The one thing I will say is, though, it was not the class, it was the teacher. It was the teacher that gave me that spark. Because English wasn't always my favorite, but my 10th grade English teacher, Doris Gloss, made me love to read, made me love anything to do with it. So it's not always the class, it's more the person.
I would have to agree. I did have a favorite subject, though. It was history. In fact, I went to college to become a history person and a history teacher. And again, it's the teacher. I had a teacher that was amazing in high school. Actually, I loved school. I guess I'm a nerd in that way. I loved reading. I loved all the subjects. Didn't like math, but I liked all the other subjects. I got by in math, though. I guess when you're raised in a family of educators, as my parents were, it's kind of instilled in you, pushed into your body, basically, I think. And so I just loved going to school. I liked being in school. And
Well, everybody think I'm going to say physical education and all that other stuff and love to play dodgeball, but no, actually, I'm like Roy. My favorite subject was probably history. I'm a true believer that history tends to repeat itself, and we learn from history. I think somewhere down the line, maybe we've kind of forgotten that with some of our curriculums, and maybe we should get back to teaching a little more of world history and economics, especially what's going on in the world today. But I guess my least favorite class was probably English, I'll be honest with you. It wasn't my favorite thing, but got through it and managed to go through and get through college. So of all the things, yeah, I would say history.
My least favorite subject actually turned into my favorite subject. Going along with what Ms. Craig said, my favorite subject, believe it or not, was English. And I can credit all of that to a teacher who's still at the high school, in Mindy Dawson. She took English that I was horrible at and made it fun, offering extra services, counseling, or not counseling, but tutoring after class, and just made English, believe it or not, English was fun. So what was my least favorite subject became my favorite subject, all thanks to a teacher by the name of Mindy Dawson.
Well, I hate to just be repeating the core, but my favorite subject was American history also, and learning about the founding of this country and the ideals that have spread around the world that represent, hope and democracy. But when it comes to the most impactful teacher, I would say that would be Jim Knorr, who was I was in the show choir, and he was of course the show choir director for many years. Performed in this room more times than I can remember as part of that, but also English as well. Mrs. Oldacre, I don't even remember what her first name was, Lynn Westfall's sister, and just helped me fall in love with Shakespeare and other great classics from literature.
I'd say for me, probably art. Art would be at the top. Next to that would be writing. But the class that I enjoyed the most was Mr. Patterson's science class that he taught. He always rolled with the punches. Just little things, they wouldn't get him riled up. The kids took his lenses out of his safety glasses one time whenever he was getting ready to do the potassium experiment in the water, and he just rolled with it, just put them on and touched his eyeball and said, well, let's see what happens. So I think I'll second what most of them have said. It's been the teacher really that makes the difference more than anything, but just allowing us that freedom to be able to navigate our way through, and that's what makes the classes enjoyable.
Well, I'll tell you what it wasn't, and it wasn't math. Didn't like that. But I really did enjoy school, and I really did love reading and the English language and history and all of that. But you're right, it was the teacher. It was the teachers that I had. Some you went in with a smile on your face and jokingly, and others you wouldn't have dared touch those glasses because you were lucky to breathe in their class. But you learned from them. They were good teachers. They were very good teachers, but they were disciplinarians also. So, all aspects of learning is great. You never stop learning, and not just in high school or college. You continue on. And I plan to continue on until they shut my eyes for permanently.
I guess my favorite subjects would be history, especially West Virginia history. I loved learning about our state and its foundations and everything that happened throughout it. I also like social studies. I think that broadened my outlook on a lot of stuff growing up, and I love that. And I didn't necessarily like math, but I love the feeling I got when something clicked. When I'm looking at a math problem and say, oh, I could just apply the quadratic formula, or I could just do this formula or that formula. And when something just clicked in math, it was just the best feeling ever. So I didn't like the subject, I liked the feeling that math gave me when you actually understood it. But up until high school, and I don't know if anybody else had this same thing or not, but my sophomore year, computers were introduced into the schools. And I loved computer science, I loved all that, and I've been working with computers ever since. So I've kind of had two sets of different favorites.
Next, a two-parter. What's your current occupation, and how long have you lived in Upshur County?
I am retired from the Upshur County school system. I worked for 2 years in Harrison County, and I got the opportunity to move to Upshur County when I married my husband, and was thrilled to get a job in Upshur County because it was one of the most respected counties in the state. And I want to bring that back to us. I have lived here 36 years, almost 36 years, and I love Upshur County. I grew up in Bridgeport, but I bleed blue and white, and I think I will always be that way.
Hope I remember all the parts of this. Currently retired, and currently a volunteer assistant track coach at the high school for boys. Got volunteered by my wife for many years. And I have been an elementary teacher. I have been an elementary principal. I have been a federal programs director and superintendent of Upshur County schools. So my whole life has been Upshur County schools. And I have lived in Upshur County, I was just trying to count the number of years, 50 some years. And I've been very happy here for all these years.
Let's see. I was born here, went to school here, graduated from Buckhannon Upshur, graduated from West Virginia Wesleyan. Got my master's from West Virginia Wesleyan, played football at West Virginia Wesleyan. I started teaching my first year, was in Webster Springs Elementary School and middle school. I was a head football, basketball, and softball coach. Came back to the middle school, spent 27 years there before I went to the high school to finish up my career, retired 2016. I've been the head football coach at Buckhannon Upshur. I'm currently the middle school head football coach. Lived in basically 63 years, we can say I've been a part of Buckhannon, and I've been a part of the education system all those years, for 40 years out of the 41. Very proud of that fact, looking forward to hopefully continuing it and bringing some of the things, as Jan said, And I started here in 1982. We were the Bridgeport of the area. Everybody wanted to come to Upshur County Schools, and I'd like to bring that back.
Born and raised in Buckhannon, although I haven't been a school teacher and administrator. My mother taught school and retired for the Upshur County school system she taught for 35 years. My sister began her teaching career at Buckhannon Upshur Middle School in the special ed department. She now teaches at South Harrison. I have coached high school boys basketball, assistant coach under Travis Foster for 3 years. I currently am a sales consultant at Jenkins Ford here in Buckhannon. I, too, want to see excellence return to Upshur County. Each student, not just my own, I want each student to achieve excellence in education, and that's why I'm running for the Board of Ed.
I wasn't born here, but I got here as fast as I could, which was 19 years ago. Since that time, I lived in Morgantown for a little bit to get my bachelor's, MBA, and law degree. I'm an attorney. I'm the city attorney for the city of Buckhannon and maintain a law practice as well on that.
So I was born here. I've lived here all my life. I have background basically serving others. That's what my entire career has been about. Currently, I work for World Fuel Services, World Connect, here in Buckhannon, otherwise known as what used to be Martin Oil Company in Likens. So, but yeah, this is my home, and this is where I want to see our children grow and thrive and have ideals and values, and principles and morals and ethics, and learn those things from us as board members, community members, whatever we are here for. That's what I want to see happen here in our county.
I'm from a little county called Tyler County. I came here when I was 18 years old. I've been here for 52 years. Don't do the math. I started driving bus in 1976. In 1985, 86, I came to West Virginia Wesleyan College, and in between my bus route, I got my degree. And I became an elementary school teacher, but I didn't give up that bus. And so I was one of the first in the state that drove a school bus and taught school. And basically I did that at high school, and my students thought that was very unfair because I drove them to school, I taught them all day, and I drove them home. So they had to behave, and they knew that. I have 3 children, and I have 1 stepson. All of my children graduated from Buckhannon Upshur High School. I have 2 RNs and 1 business manager, and a welder, certified welder. So I want this school to become our school system to go back to the glory days, because when I come here 18 years ago, this was the place to be.
I was born and raised in Upshur County. Been here all my life. Went to Houston, Texas for about a year, Pittsburgh for about a year, Virginia for about a year. But I came back home, and I love it here, and I plan on spending the rest of my life here. As far as my employment, I spent 20 years with the U.S. military. I'm happily retired from that. And I've been here at Wesleyan College for the last 15 years. And my whole entire life, I've pretty much done computers as far as my real job. I've also spent about 10 years now with Cub Scouts. I was a assistant den leader, Cub master. So leading up a lot of boys to do outdoor events, get them away from electronics. And I'm still on the board of executives for the Cub Scouts. And ever since I've got out of the military, I've just wanted to serve. And I like serving Upshur County. And, that's what I hopefully plan on to do in the future.
Now that the hard-hitting questions are finished, would you support a charter school in Upshur County?
Upshur County is not the place for a charter school, in my opinion. Charter schools are for larger areas where there's more diversification, where there are students that have a specific niche that needs to be filled. Right now, I see a charter school taking money away from the school system, and I don't see it bringing that much to our students here. With that said, are there students that could benefit from a charter school? Possibly. But at some point in time in life, you have to weigh the pros against the cons. And at this point in time, Upshur County, in my opinion, is not the place for a charter school.
You keep stealing all my answers. I would have to agree. Charter schools, I think, it's going to sound terrible, but I think they're elitist in some ways because they were not. What happens is in a charter school, you take away a lot of the best students from the school to go to this charter school. They're taking funds away from public education to pay for these schools. And again, in a big state, in a big county, in a large population, there might be some benefits for some students if the charter schools were set up to help those students who need it the most, with maybe smaller classes and something like that. But as of right now, I do not see a need for charter schools.
That's what's bad about being in the middle. You got to agree with the two answers in front of you. I just don't think Upshur County is really big enough for a charter school. I'm with them. My son went to Buckhannon High School, graduated, went to the Naval Academy, got an engineering degree. My daughter graduated from Concord College, went and got a law degree. My other daughter's got an education degree from Fairmont State University. So my kids succeeded in Upshur County Public Schools. And other kids succeed in Upshur County Public Schools. We have an image of possibly not being everybody failing. That's not true. We have a lot of success stories in Upshur County. Do we need more? Absolutely. Is there room for more? Absolutely. But I don't think charter schools in a small county like this is the right answer.
I agree. I wouldn't support a charter school for the funding reasons, but also right now we're already facing a crisis nationally, not just in Upshur County with the teacher shortage. I think we would be in some contentions of losing our best teachers to something like that. We must implement a plan to get the brightest and best teachers to our public schools, and I don't think a charter school would help that. I think it would just put us against each other, basically, so I would not support one.
So the question is, would I support a charter school? And I'd say, well, it really depends on the application that the board would receive. The legislature has given boards of education a role to play in that, and I think, as a candidate, I'm not going to sit here and prejudge every application that's going to come in. So I would say it depends. It depends on the group that comes in. It depends on what's in the application. It depends on a lot of factors. Now, that being said, I think the data demonstrates what's been said here, that you need a certain population density in order to really make a charter school work. I'm not sure that we have that here, but I would keep an open mind based on the applications that would come in, and I think that's the responsible thing to do.
So here's what I would say. When people start to see how an entity runs itself or doesn't run itself, or the in-between, they start looking at other options if it's not meeting what they need. So we have a job to do. We have a job to do to make our school system the most illustrious, attractive program that there is, simply because it's going to educate people's children and students. So to say that I support it, I would say this. I think all options are on the table whenever people see a challenge and they see something not meeting their needs. And we already have homeschooling that's there, and people have a right to choose. Obviously, it would lose funds, possibly, and lose teachers, yes, but that's part of what we as a board need to do to bring everything back together again.
Well, I'd have to agree with Mr. O'Neill. We need to make those decisions when the application comes in. To sit here and say yes or no, I can't really do that with a good conscience. Really, with any kind of decision like that, we need to see what's coming and research it and look it over and then make our decisions then. But right now, we need to get our school system back up to par. We need to be back in the glory days, as I have been calling them, where everyone wanted to go to Buckhannon, Upshur High School, and wanted to be part of Upshur County. We need to get back to that, and that's going to take some hard work, but I think that we can do it.
And I agree with Tom as well. You can't have a preconceived absolute no when it comes to applications that come in. There could be a charter school that comes in that says, I'm just going to take students with a 2.0 or less average so we can get them tutoring and we can get them smaller class sizes and we can get them up to par. And if you come up with a preconceived notion of no, depending on the application, so it really depends on the application. And my understanding is, and I could be wrong, but charter schools, not only do they take funding away from Upshur County and probably teachers away, but I think the public schools still have to let them play sports. So public schools are still going to be paying for some of that stuff, even though they're not getting any financial support from it. And that could have changed in some of the legislative laws. Didn't read them all. But, as far as yes or no, do I support it or not support it, it all just depends on the application and what the charter school is intended to do.
Thank you. Now we'll give each of you 2 minutes for closing remarks.
For once, I don't have to think as fast on my feet. A lot of people in Upshur County know me. As I said before, I came from Harrison County because I wanted to be in Upshur County. I love Upshur County. I know people would say, why would you leave Harrison County? You were making more money, you had kindergarten, which is what you went to school to teach. And I ended up being a high school special ed coordinator and working with special ed students. But you know what? Kindergarten kids are always the cute ones that everybody wants to be with. My special ed kids, to me, were the ones I wanted to be with. And I've watched some of them flourish. I've watched some of them flounder, and it's been painful. But I feel like I made a difference in their lives, and that's what's important. I need to be back in the Upshur County schools in some role, and this is my role at this time. As Sherry Dean has said, to bring us back to the glory days. During the time I've been here, I served for 26 years as the local WVEA president. I've done hundreds of board meetings. I know many of the limitations that the board has financially. I know how grievances occur and many things that don't just happen. I want to see us working together as a team in this county. And to do that, it's going to take 3 things, in my opinion. Open communication, and that's open communication with administration, with parents, with students, with teachers, with everybody associated with the school system and in the county. Honest dealings and ethical values. We need to follow state code in all of our work, and the thing I bring to the table is common sense.
Okay, I chose to come back and try to run for the Board of Education because when I left a few years back, I thought we were in pretty good shape. Do we have our problems? Yes, every school system has their problems. But we were on a good incline, I thought. And then the pandemic hit. And having had a wife who is still a teacher and just retired herself, and saw the frustration that she had as having to do virtual school with her kids. It was great that every student had a computer, but the issues that we were going through at that time, and as teachers were going through, not every teacher, but I would say the vast majority, the students were not doing My wife would come home crying, I can't get these kids to do this work, and it's not hard work. She's an art teacher, and I like to tease her about that, you know, and she supplied them with these things. But as board members, we're going to be making critical decisions in the near future, and should make them, and as board members, we should be visible in schools where these decisions will be effective. Board members need to witness for themselves the heart and soul of these students, teachers, aides, secretaries, cooks, custodians, bus drivers, administrators of Upshur County. And I hope I didn't leave somebody out. I walked the halls of every facility and would like to do that again when I was superintendent and in federal programs. My footsteps have covered every building, every classroom, every playground, and I will be there for all of you again. I am not here to criticize, but to help.
I'm Dave Chips, and the question was, what do I bring to the Board of Education in Upshur County? Well, first of all, I'm a 1977 graduate of the high school. Well, actually the middle school. I was the last class to graduate from there. 1982 graduated here in Wesleyan. 1992 I got my master's from Wesleyan here. My wife Kathy, also a teacher, she taught for 34 years. I've raised 3 children, all graduates of Buckhannon Upshur High School. I bring 41 years of experience in Upshur County. I've worked as a teacher, a coach, athletic director. I've also worked as a maintenance worker in the county doing summer painting. I've painted just about every building in the county in one form or another, every classroom. I've been in every school. As of late, I was still a long-term sub in the fall before I started my every other year job, and I know what's going on in our schools. I've actually taught in our schools during this time, as late as November. I also work for the U.S. Department of Education. I administer the NAEP test. NAEP stands for the National Assessment of Educational Progress. It's a test given to 4th and 8th graders throughout the country. And I take a crew and I go around and give that test throughout West Virginia and Virginia. I've done that for the last 6 years, every other year. And it's given me a chance to observe how other school systems work and see what I like about theirs, what I don't like about ours, what I like about theirs and what I don't like about theirs. I get to talk to a lot of administrators. I get to spend time in those schools. And I get to see how teachers and students and how programs are run. I also led the effort along with several other people in the community in the Field of the Future, where we got the field at the high school turf. That committee raised $1 million in less than 9 months, gave it to the Board of Education, and also set up a plan to replace the turf, which they've done one time and still not cost the board bukus of money. I want to be a voice of student, teachers, and parents in our community. I have made education my lifelong career. I want to give Upshur County back to what it once was. The Board of Education sets a course for our schools, and I want to make it the best course possible for us as students to succeed in life.
I'm Brandon Wiese. I too am a graduate from Buckhannon Upshur High School in 2004. I have a criminal justice degree from Fairmont State. I have a daughter who attends Buckhannon Upshur Middle School. I'm engaged to my beautiful fiancée, Nicole Brown, who's the mother of 2 Tennerton Elementary School students. I'm a lifelong resident of Upshur County. I don't have an education background. I haven't been a teacher or an administrator. I'm a common working citizen that can make sound decisions without bias, or receptive to parents, staff, students, and the community at large, and encourage an open dialogue with each member. My efforts as a board member are to be entirely inclusive and that each child is of equal importance. Key issues, a mapping of what the future holds for the students and to make sure that the students receive the necessary tools that they need to achieve those. I touched on it once, a major concern with local teachers that I've spoke with already is the teacher shortage. It's becoming a crisis all over the country, not just here in Upshur County. We must implement a plan that will attract the brightest teachers to our area. And they are our frontline workers. We have to provide them the support they need from the top down, from the administration to the parents. The teachers are the ones that are in and out with our kids every day. And we must provide them with the support they need and whatever they need. I'm asking for all this because it is time for change and it is time for us to grow better together. Thank you.
Thanks. I misspoke earlier. I've been here for 29 years, not 19. I was just trying not to age. I'm grateful for all of the fellow candidates here tonight. I think it's great that there are so many people running for these 3 board seats. I think it says good things about the community, and I think it says good things about the candidates, that everyone's willing to step up and make a contribution to the community. There is no better predictor of student success than parental involvement in the student's education. Or grandparents, in the case of many of our students here. I want to promote parental and grandparent involvement in kids' education. I think they'd be more likely to do that when parents and grandparents feel like and know that the schools represent the priorities and values of the community in which they're located. That's why I'm running. That's what I intend to do. I am grateful for all of the teachers that I've had, all the teachers that my kids have had, and for the difference in their lives that they've made and that they'll continue to make into the future. I don't need my full 2 minutes.
So these are some things that I'd like to take a look at, these areas. Restoring classrooms to uninterrupted learning environments and supporting adequate discipline. All teachers need their planning periods. Ensuring that adequate curriculum is understood by the teachers and the students both. Look at closing the learning gap that's been created. I personally am not sold that it's only COVID-19. I want to take a look at how much technology is actually being used in the classroom versus real teaching being done. And I want to look at firming up absences and their reporting. Take a look at increasing proficiency levels and decreasing student referrals through proper discipline. Restoring a purpose and a plan for our students to increase morale. Reviewing finances to enhance student education. Bring as much transparency to the community from the board as is legal. Look at expanding career technical classes and establish job placement. And then here's just some thoughts. Right now, many students are losing sight of who they are. They have no goals to aim for and achieve, leaving them to feel like they have no purpose or plan for their lives, which results in them searching for answers in so many of the wrong places, in lifestyles that are proven to lead to addictions and many other things. I'm not going to go into all of those, okay? But they're lifestyles that are leading them down the wrong path, and they're destroying lifestyles. It leaves them unloved, depressed, and suicidal, and some of them are even dying early deaths. Students need motivated once again. They need invigorated once again, and to be productive, life-seeking citizens of a nation that is meant to lead the world and not be led by the world. And in closing, I would say this. It's increasingly evident overall, if we want to live in this county, we need to have a better quality of life inside and outside of the schools. We need a change.
I've worked in this system for 37 years plus, because when I retired, I didn't really retire. So I was a consultant for the transportation. I went to work for Wiese down in Fayette and Beckley, and helped them with their transportation systems. I retired again from there after 3 years, and so I'm back. My children are raised and going. I have grandchildren now in the school system. I have a senior. I have a pre-K. And I want what's best for my children as I want what's best for Upshur County students. And we need to look at the situations. We need, as they come across our desk, evaluate and do the very best we can. We need the parents and the teachers and the school systems to work together, because you can't help that child if it doesn't have a solid parent base and community base, and that is extremely important. So as far as technology, that's the future. That is the future, whether you like it or not. And our kids need to be educated in technology. 15 years down the road, it's not going to be anything like what we see today, but they're going to have to be ready for it. And it's our job to make sure that they are ready for their future. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education." We've got our work cut out for us.
What I have to bring to the Board of Education, and I have to agree with what Sherry said, technology is very important for the kids of the future. And I bring 30 plus years of experience working in technology. I've been everything from building computers, a programmer. I currently work at the college doing audio visual, all the live events, everything like that. Also work at the help desk, run a print shop. So I bring a lot of experience in technology. And when we think about the future of our Upshur County students, we need to move forward together and not move backward. We need to figure out how to keep the kids engaged in learning in the classroom. You know, I walk around the classrooms now and see all these brand new TVs up on the walls and all these things, and none of it's being used. You know, my kids, I've got 2 kids in the school system. They come home and you ask them how their day was. Oh, just boring. We didn't really learn anything, didn't do anything new. We need to change that. And back in our day, when most of us was in school, not only did we have to learn how to do something, we had to learn why to do it. But anymore, if you think about it, everything is on the internet. You know, anything you want to find is on the internet. Calculators are used. You have your phones that you can use everything. But we need to move forward with technology and keep our kids engaged so they actually want to learn. And whether that's more project-based learning or more technology in the classrooms or getting the kids out of the classrooms. You know, why take, 7th and 8th graders across to a tire shop for a field trip? Why not take them to the trade school? Let them see how welding is done. Let them see how building is done. You know, get kids more involved and make them want to go to school so they won't want to stay in Upshur County when they graduate. And maybe they'll start businesses here, and maybe they will do more things here. And since my time is up, just a reminder, my name is Robert Osborne, and you do have 3 votes for Board of Education, and I would like to be one of those votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to, my name is Brian Bergstrom. I'm the founder of Buckhannon. And I just want to thank all of you for coming today. I hope our viewers, both live and in demand, learned a good deal tonight. I think looking at this group here, I think our school board has a bright future. And I really appreciate all of you coming out and speaking to the people of Upshur County tonight. So I'll give you a hand here. Thank you. I also just want to thank our co-sponsors for the evening. First is the West Virginia Wesleyan College Student Senate. They have helped us for many years organize a location and take care of a lot of the logistical issues in hosting these forums. So thank you to them. I want to thank the Buckhannon Upshur Chamber of Commerce. Tammy Rigger is really the inspiration and the driving force behind this forum that we host every 2 years. So a special thank you to the Chamber. And finally, Channel 3. They do an amazing job. I know if you binge City Council like I do, you can appreciate the audio and video quality that they do for those events. And they're really an asset to our community. So thank you to Channel 3 for also sponsoring this. And with that, good night. Thank you, everyone.